Welcome back to the crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Ethereum is potentially still playing out this massive fractal that we must pay attention to. And something else that we need to pay attention to is Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which is already breaking to the downside, but we're potentially in for a bounce sometime soon according to the RSI, and I'll be talking more about that later in the video. Definitely stick around. Just starting off with the 3-day Ethereum chart, and at the time of recording this video, we're still finding a lot of support at around 1700 as expected. Once again, this is a support level I've been talking about for multiple weeks now, and it's mostly based on the fact that we've already found a lot of support at around 1700 during the middle of last year. So $1,700 is definitely an important level of support for Ethereum to hold above. And now taking a quick look at the daily Ethereum chart, and as I spoke about in yesterday's Ethereum update video, this bullish divergence that was previously forming on this daily Ethereum chart is now invalidated because we've seen a break to the downside in the daily RSI. But with that being said, at the time of recording this video, it is technically possible for Ethereum to form another bullish divergence because obviously we're seeing lower lows in terms of daily candle closes, and we're still forming higher lows in the daily Ethereum RSI if you're looking at the low that we formed a couple weeks ago compared to what we are seeing right now. But this hasn't been confirmed just yet because we have not confirmed an actual low just yet in the RSI or the price action. So what we need to see is at least one green daily candle to actually confirm a bounce in the RSI in place, because once again, as of right now, at the time of recording this video, we haven't actually confirmed another low in the RSI just yet. We're still on the way down. And speaking about lows in the Ethereum RSI, we're currently at the lowest point we've seen in the weekly Ethereum RSI since the end of the 2018 bear market. And in fact, that is the only time in Ethereum's entire price history where the weekly Ethereum RSI has gone lower than what we're seeing right now. So even though we do technically have some more room to the downside based on what we saw back in 2018, the RSI actually entered into oversold territories and we haven't seen that just yet. But even though we do have some room to the downside, it's not a lot. So most likely the worst is behind us, even though we could technically still be in for one more drop to the downside. Because if you're looking at the 3-day Ethereum chart, we're currently playing out a massive fractal that replicates what we saw in the last bull and bear cycle back in 2017 and 2018. And I covered this exact fractal around 1 week ago on this channel, so I'll play a quick clip for you now in case you missed that video. And this fractal basically stems from the 3-day Ethereum RSI, because if you're looking at the RSI itself, we've seen constant lower lows in the RSI on the 3-day time frame once again ever since around the middle of 2020, and we saw a somewhat similar thing back in the last bear market in 2018. We actually started those lower lows in the 3-day Ethereum RSI all the way back during the bull market back in 2017. And focusing on the previous cycle, first of all, back in 2017 and 2018, looking at the first low that we saw in the 3-day Ethereum RSI before the RSI started forming lower highs. Since that point right there, we saw 4 other times throughout this cycle where the 3-day Ethereum RSI either bounced from this line of support or slightly intercepted this line of support, making it 5 times in total, starting from the time just before the RSI started forming lower highs. And now looking at the current cycle, starting at the low just before the RSI started forming lower highs in the 3-day time frame. So far, we've seen a total of 4 times where the RSI has either bounced off this line of support or intercepted this line of support. And now comparing the touch point in the RSI and the corresponding price action to what we saw in the last cycle, basically at the first touch point in the 3-day Ethereum RSI, that was basically towards the beginning of the overall bull market in both of these examples. Essentially, we still had some of the biggest gains yet to come for the price of Ethereum. And then looking at the next touch point, the second touch point along this descending line of support, basically at that point in both of these cycles, the majority of the bull market gains had already been completed, but we still had one more push to a new all-time high in both of these examples. And then what we saw was a major pullback from all-time highs down to a higher low in the price action, but a much lower low in the 3-day Ethereum RSI. And in fact, this was the first time in the overall cycle where the RSI entered back into oversold territories and slightly breached this line of support. And if you're looking at the current cycle, we saw almost the exact same thing. Once again, a higher low in January where the 3-day Ethereum RSI slightly breached this line of support and slightly entered into oversold territories for the first time in this overall cycle. And then what came next in 2018 was a decent bounce back to the upside, and then another leg to the downside where we saw the 3-day Ethereum RSI have its 4th touch point along this massive descending line of support. And that 4th touch point in the 3-day Ethereum RSI was also in oversold territories, very similar to what we have just seen over the past 1 to 2 weeks with a recent Ethereum crash. And so basically, if you're looking at all of these different touch points, all of these different swings in the market, up up and down swings in the markets from these two cycles, if we simply continue to play out this fractal and basically kind of repeat what we saw in the last cycle, the last bear market back in 2018, then Ethereum could play out one more leg to the downside before then we finally bottom out for the bear market. So as you saw there, it is entirely possible Ethereum could still play out one more leg to the downside before then we bottom out for the bear market based on this massive fractal and looking in the 3-day Ethereum RSI compared to what we saw last time. But once again, nothing in crypto is never 100% guaranteed. So keep that in mind. We could see something like it, but not necessarily the exact same thing. And now looking at the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart on the 3-day time frame, and obviously as I've been talking about for a couple weeks now, Ethereum has started to trend more and more bearish against Bitcoin, especially with the break to the downside below this ascending line of support, and now the fact that we formed a lower low, which confirms the fact that Ethereum is now in a downtrend against Bitcoin because we're forming lower highs and lower lows. And for the beginners out there, this means Ethereum is underperforming against Bitcoin. So for example, if Bitcoin is holding support, Ethereum might be breaking below support, or if Bitcoin pumps, Ethereum might not pump as much. And because of that, I've been letting you know almost every day over the past 1 to 2 weeks that I'm looking to move some of my Ethereum into Bitcoin. And I did end up doing that yesterday, right around here, the moment we broke below this previous low just here. But if you're looking at the 3-day RSI for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, we're about to bounce from this level of support, which is also currently in oversold territories, which means it's a likely possibility that we could see some sort of shorter term bounce at the very least in the price of Ethereum against Bitcoin. But I wouldn't necessarily expect a full-on bullish reversal back to the highs just based on this signal alone. Instead, it's possible we could see some sort of bounce like this or like this, for example. But I'll also be keeping a close eye on the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the 3-day time frame, which is still looking pretty strong. We have run into a bit of resistance close to this previous high, sitting at around 47% dominance, as I mentioned in yesterday's Ethereum update video. And so if we do end up playing out a bit more of a rejection from that line of resistance at around 47%, then it's possible we could see a bit of a short-term recovery for the altcoins against Bitcoin, but not necessarily a full trend reversal because we don't have the signals for a full trend reversal in the Bitcoin dominance, at least just yet. So as of right now, at the time of recording this video, I'm still heavier into Bitcoin compared to Ethereum or any other altcoins out there. That's just simply my strategy at the moment. And of course, that is not financial advice. You can do whatever you want with your own money. And make sure to check out one of these videos popping up right here on your screen if you want to know how to keep making profits in crypto, even if prices are going down. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.